Two election workers from the state of Georgia, actually a mother and daughter, are now suing both Rudy Giuliani and the One America News Network for defamation, alleging in separate lawsuits, of course, that each of these individuals or groups spread misinformation, knowingly spread misinformation about these two women that has, of course, disrupted their lives. So what did these entities say about these two women? Well, according to what Rudy Giuliani has said and what One America allowed to be said on their network, was that these two women somehow, as election result counters in the state of Georgia, pulled out suitcases filled with ballots. And of course, it was those ballots in those suitcases that they believe are fraudulent and gave Joe Biden the edge in the state of Georgia in 2020. This is not true. There were no suitcases filled with ballots. You know, those videos Republicans put out claiming to say, oh, look, he's pulled out a box of ballots out of nowhere. It's because they were being stored because they had gone home for the night. And when they arrived the next morning, they pulled the boxes out and started counting the ballots again. They didn't fabricate the boxes overnight and plant them there. That's where they were keeping them until they could be counted. So it's most likely a similar situation here. It probably wasn't suitcases. Just, okay, folks, we're done for the night. Put your ballots back in the box. Put them over here. We're going to come back and start fresh in the morning. You know, like you would do at any job. You put your work away. You work in a restaurant. You put all the utensils away. You close down. You put all the condiments back into the cooler. That doesn't mean that the next morning when you pull them out, you've fabricated new materials, new documents, new ketchups. It's because you stored them so they didn't sit out all night. That's what happens. But of course, these morons didn't understand that. They engaged in this likely defamation, and so the women are suing, and rightfully so. They have faced harassment. They have faced threats. You know, it's likely going to be difficult for them to continue working as election workers in the state of Georgia with the national attention that they have gotten because of this. So in terms of the criteria, the damages suffered by these two women, they absolutely would allow them to sue for defamation in this particular instance. So what the courts are going to have to decide is, was this negligent or was this actual malice, right? Did Rudy Giuliani say these things knowing they were false? Or did he have enough information to suggest they were false, but he ignored it? Same thing with One America. If the courts determine, that yes, that did in fact happen, then these two women would prevail in these particular lawsuits. And of course, as I've pointed out in the past, when you start going after just private citizens, you know, private workers like the Dominion worker who's also suing some of the right-wingers because they used his name, they pointed to him as the fraud guy. These are not public figures. If you go in public using a public platform and you start trashing an average citizen, making wild accusations against them, they didn't sign up for this. So it's very easy for them to not only file, but also win defamation lawsuits like this. If you wanted to make these claims, you could have left the people's names out of it, could have left their faces out of it, you know, and just said, we believe this is what could be happening here. But nope, they didn't do it. You drag these people's names through the mud. You ruined their reputations just because you wanted to appease Donald Trump. And now, hopefully, you're going to face the consequences for doing that.